Back by popular demand, surprisingly, actually. I'm gonna show you some of my knives, and I'll go through them one at a time, I suppose, yeah. So I'll show you these knives that I never carry, kind of explain why. There's this one that my grandfather gave me, and this is something like it's got the Air Force, it says Air Force on it for some reason. I'm not a fan of the serrated blade. It's not for me. I get that maybe the partially serrated blade might help you cut through a seatbelt, maybe. But usually, if I have my knives, I'm opening boxes and cutting tape, and tape gets stuck in the serrations, and it catches, and it sort of just tears and doesn't really cut, in my experience. It doesn't do what I need it to do. So I don't carry serrated, and obviously like this is not the best serration, and it has no pocket clip, so it's tough for me to carry. So I just don't carry it, and it feels weird. It's got weird balance, but yeah, thanks, Grandpa. This came with some pack, like an adventuring pack, a Bear Grylls pack, maybe. Yeah, there it is. A Gerber Bear Grylls. BG for Bear Grylls. There's actually nothing really wrong with it. The issue with this grip is kind of sticky, or maybe it's too textured so that you can't, when you go to flip it open, it just sticks. So if I have to deploy my knife quickly, it's kind of tough. And you can see I already have a hole that's wearing in my thumb from doing that. And again, a serrated blade. This serration's better than the other one. And the blade on this is actually not bad. It's decently sharp. Handle ergonomics are weird. Not the best. It does have a pocket clip. So this is not bad. I don't carry it though because I have better options. My grandmother just recently got me this thing. It's got like a strange. It's like they wanted to make a Chris blade, but chickened out halfway through. So it's kind of straight, kind of a Chris blade, kind of straight, kind of wavy. Uh, it's kind of sharp, but I don't want to go using this and then dull it, and I don't know how to sharpen this strange edge. And I couldn't figure out how to close this. I had to look it up. There's this thing here you have to press. Then that closes. It does have a lock. It does have a lock on it. I don't want to have to unlock my knife to use it. That sounds dumb to me. My sister got me this friggin' Mangekyo Sharingan blade. And I wouldn't I wouldn't carry this for obvious reasons. That I wouldn't find much utility for this. It's cool to look at, I suppose, but this stays in the drawer for the most part. Seems like it'd be kind of dangerous to use, honestly. If I were to use it, the Karambit blade is actually not a terrible design for cutting for what I use my knives for. But if I were to put this in my pocket, that would take up so much freaking room. And I would have three blades that if one got dull, I could just switch to the next one. But I'm not going to do that. So now I'll show you knives that I actually like. And I'll start with really my first knife that I ever got. The guy that was my mentor basically gave me this buck knife, and I took this with me hiking to the Adirondacks, and they had these things called bear canisters. You have to put your food into a bear canister, and they have these big locks on the top that you can only open with a screwdriver. So I was taking the tip of my knife and using that to open my bear canister so I could get my oatmeal. And the tip broke right off, which did make it easier to open. And this thing was sharp. This thing was good. But nowadays I need a tip on my knife. But this knife was good. Has a pocket clip. The handle's not great. The handle is a little iffy. But I do like this one. Now, I really liked the idea of having an open L, even though there's more utilitarian options, honestly. I like the idea of having a carbon steel folding knife. But when you order them, there's not really any frame of reference for how big it is. So I got the number, I think this is the number 10, or this is the number 12 maybe. The Open L Carbone 12. Got a big blade on it, and it does take up a bit of room. Was I cutting candles with this? Got a bit of wax on there or something. I do like this though because the carbon steel blade gets very sharp, and that's something I like. That's something that's good and cool. This neck lock thing works pretty well. It really locks it in place. But if I have to deploy something, because I find myself in situations where I'm maybe holding something with this hand and trying to open my knife with this other hand is kind of tough with just this nail nick opener. That's all you really have to open this. Same thing with this Open L. I think this is a 9? Open L 9? A much better size, and definitely feels cool when you're cutting apples with this. It reminds me of this friendly old man that lived next door. His name was Mr. Thomas, and he had a pocket knife named Mr. Bear. It had a bear on it, and he'd open it and cut apples on the front porch with it, and watch me draw with chalk. It was a nice guy, real friendly guy. Oh, no, it says right there, it's a number 8. Can you see that? Can you see that it says 8? Very shiny in my room. I have actually carried this around a few times. I even convinced my buddies to get one because it is kind of cool. You feel old-fashioned, and we like to feel we like to feel classy and old-fashioned sometimes. But really, I'm a utilitarian at heart. Now, one year for Christmas, my dad got me these 2 knives. This one here with the green dragon, which is honestly kind of cool. I don't know what this is called. Speedster model collection series. It's got this hole in it, which is not really for anything. I don't know why you would have a hole. And my friend, every time I whip this out, he says, "I don't like that hole. I don't like that hole. That makes the blade weaker." He made sure I knew every time. Again, a serrated blade. Not a big fan of serrations. And the actual cutting edge is very small. That's like 1.5 inches of a cutting edge. And it is kind of bulky for how much cutting power you're getting out of it. But there's this cool glass breaker on the end. I never had to use it, of course. But I like the idea of, like, that's just a tiny addition. And it adds something cool to your pocket knife. The flip on this is very good and very smooth. The spring load on this is very smooth, very cool, very good. It's epic. It's really fun to fidget around and do that, with this one especially. So I did carry that around, but more often I found myself carrying this one, the Firefighter, I suppose. This one's flip is a little tougher, but I'm a bigger fan of the blade geometry. Instead of 1.5 inches of cutting edge, we have 2 inches of a cutting edge. Again, serrated blade. And honestly, this handle, I want to say it's not comfortable, but the way it's made, it's actually kind of ergonomic. The handle is kind of ergonomic, to be honest. It's not super comfortable, but it is ergonomic, if that makes any sense. And of course, these Tack Force things don't come hair-popping sharp. I've not done this in a while. Ooh, I haven't done this in a while, actually. But it's kind of gross. There is some hair on there. There's also some dead skin I ripped right off. cut right off. Yeah, I've not felt the need to cut my own hair off my arm in a while. It was kind of fun actually. So then my aunt gave me this knife. One of her buddies gave it to her, and she gave it to me. I don't know if he used it for fishing or what. He got a new one. He didn't want it anymore. I actually carried this around for quite a bit of time, a few years, I think. Maybe it wasn't a few years, but it was an extended amount of time. Very nice lockup. That's something I didn't mention about the others, the lockup. The if I can just show you, I guess, on this one. It's tough. It's tough to quantify how a lockup is when you watch a video, but when you're feeling it, when you have it in your hand, you can really feel how much the blade is wobbling. On this, lockup is really good. Blade, it's tough to tell on camera because it's my hand that's moving it. You can't tell unless you're holding it whether or not the lockup is good. But I actually carry this around. This is like my ideal knife in a lot of ways. I'm a fan of the drop point. If you notice, almost all the ones I've showed you so far do have a drop point. I like that better than the clip point, or I've not really used a Tanto point or Tanto point pocket knife, like Cold Steel offers some of those. I've not really used those. I like the drop point. I'm a fan of it, or the spear point they call it. Some nicks in the blade, I didn't put those there. This is how it came. That paint was torn off already. But this was good, and it's kind of, if I look at it now, it is kind of falling apart. This is a liner lock, right? When it's on the inside like that, that's a liner lock. And the opening on this was not actually that smooth. I had to go in, and it's tough to tell. I don't know if you could tell that there is some freaking pencil granite that I put around the action there. Some pencil. And that lubes it up really nice and makes it smooth. I don't carry this around anymore because it's actually kind of cursed. One day when I was at work, this cute girl came in and she had something with a zip tie. There was a bundle of wires. Let me see if I could find something. I'll just use my old phone. There was a bundle of wires and she needed it opened. It was closed with a zip tie. So what I tried to do was get underneath the zip tie, and I was holding it like this. I tried to get underneath the zip tie just so that I could turn it and then cut it. But I cut right through the zip tie and went whoosh right into my thumb. Let's see, can you still see that? If you're talented, if you can... You can't really see it. You can't really see the scar. But that's it there. I stabbed myself right in the thumb. And I cut so deep that when my nail grew out, it was cut. So I cut into my nail bed and sliced my fingernail that when it grew out, it was already dangling. So that's pretty nasty. And besides, I'm a gear junkie. I can't be satisfied ever. So I'm like, okay. I'm watching the We All Juggle Knives channel. If you're not subbed, don't come to me for freaking knife videos. Go to I think his name's Israel over on the We All Juggle Knives channel. He's I go to him for recommendations. And he's only failed me twice. But I'm not going to tell you which ones. So he was mentioning these Ganzo knives. And I think these have really fallen out of his favor in recent years. But 2, 3, 4 years ago, they were offering these things decently cheap. I think I got this one. Let's see, this is model G752. The Ganzo G752. And I like this because it's kind of cool looking, honestly. I like this silver part here. that metal part. The handle texture is good. What I didn't like about this though is the liner. The liner lock is not the best. I don't know what they call this, a liner lock, a frame lock? Honestly, my terminology is not good. But the action is really, really smooth on this. What I didn't like about this and why I didn't ultimately stick with it, I did carry this around for a few weeks, but I didn't stick with it because the thumb stud, it's kind of tough. There's like you have to put a decent amount of force in the thumb stud. And there is this flipper on the back, but I don't like the flipper. I like the thumb stud. The flipper it's an okay thing, but it's not my favorite. There's no spring in this one, so it doesn't open by itself. You have to flick it to get it to stay open. Something else I like the fuller. The fuller along the back. That's a cool look. Someone was opening boxes with this and they didn't clean it. But I didn't stick with this because I didn't like the thumb stud. So then I ordered this one, the G740. This is really good. Looks like it's freaking rusting. I haven't used this in a while, but it looks like it's rusting around this stud there. You see that? It's kind of rusting around that stud. I'll have to clean that up. That's weird. This has been sitting in my knife drawer, in my gear drawer for more than a year. But there are some things I like about this knife. Drop point, like that. The thumb stud action is very smooth, very nice. And this axis lock, I think they call it an axis lock maybe. You pull down on this thing on the side here, and that's how you disengage the lock. That's kind of cool. You need two hands to do it, where you can kind of, if you have this liner lock, you can kind of use one hand if you're talented. Honestly, with this, if you're talented, you can do it with. Yeah, this one kind of stays. You have to. Maybe it just needs to be worked in, broken in more. What I didn't like about this is it's actually kind of big. And I know that's strange if you've watched my XL folder video. But actually, hold on. So, I had this. And I said to myself, okay, it's a little on the bigger side. I think this is a 4-inch blade. Yeah, about 4 inches. From the base of my hand to the tip of my thumb is 6 inches. Don't tell me why I know that. So that is about 4 inches. But by the time I got this, I already had the Voyager. And the Voyager is lighter than this. So I have something with less blade, and it's heavier, when I could just carry the Voyager around. So I was saying to myself, okay, well, it's a bigger blade, it's a little longer, this will be my tactical knife. This is not a tactical knife. This probably would be nice to cut apples with. You take this to a picnic, it's got a nice broad blade, maybe you could spread some cheese or butter with it. But a tactical knife, I mean, you could use it for tactical purposes. We all know what tactical means. But let me finish my point. So I find that usually there's compromises. So if I could, what I had at the time, compare it, it's bulkier than this Browning knife, and it's not as big as the Voyager. So I'm really compromising in all the wrong places. My compromise wasn't in any of the right places. So I just got something that was overall a worse choice to carry around. It wasn't something that was like a do-all middle ground. I just got something that was now bad at everything. Something that's this big, it's kind of tough to slip in. I mean, it might not seem like it just by looking at it, but the how broad the blade is makes a difference when you have to get in somewhere and do some fine work, which I have had to do on occasion. So then I saw Wheel Juggle Knives made a video. He said, "This is the best Ganzo there is." And I gotta agree. This was in my 2020 EDC video. This is the Ganzo G753. And this really hits all the marks. It's got the drop point blade. This lock, you can actually close this with one hand. I've worn this one in decently. You could really tell if you look at like the blade. This is what I carry every day. I like it so much. The way the blade is shaped, the tip, if you want to compare it to the 740, you can fit this in a lot tighter spaces than this. Even though near the base, they're more similar in how broad they are. How this is shaped, the blade geometry, there's a long cutting edge, a nice long sweeping cutting edge on this. I think this is 3.5 inches. 3.5 inch blade. And it's very pointy. So honestly, if you want to talk tactical, you know what tactical means, of course. This would serve a better tactical purpose than the 742. 740 as well. The thumb stud on this is so smooth. It feels so good. This feels so good to open. I like this so much that I got another one. That if I need to dress up for a black tie affair, I won't be out of place with my green knife. I got another one, and this one has to be worn in more. This one doesn't quite close as good as this one, as the green one. It's the same knife. I got the same knife again. And I've actually given this knife as a present to all my friends for their birthdays. I'm like, here, I'm going to give you the best knife that I have. Now, as good as that is, it is kind of heavy. And especially when all of your shorts that you have, all your basketball shorts that you have, are from when you were 16 years old and weighed an extra 40 pounds. My phone pulls my pants down. So these knives for sure are, you add extra weight and I'm going to walk around like I'm, well, like I'm someone that, no. So I got this, and this is the Ganzo knockoff of a Spyderco Delica, I believe. Now, I don't have any Spyderco stuff, because I don't have any status, right? I don't have any cool status symbol. But this is very light. And this is a 3-inch blade, I believe. And this thumb hole actually works pretty good. This does all the stuff I would need it to do. Opening boxes, cutting tape, some more heavy duty purposes. Like when I'm at work, I have to cut heavy zip ties. I'm not sure this would quite do the job. But for regular stuff, it does fine. I think I got one of these for each of my sisters too. I am a big fan of this. The handle is fine. This is obviously, it's a very thin blade, not for heavy duty stuff. But what model is this? I gotta tell you. The 759. The Ganzo 759. M maybe? M for medium? Is there a large version of this? I'm not sure. But I think these right now, you can, if you're lucky, you can find these for $18. You can find the 753 for $22 to $25 now. The 752, I've seen this going for like $60 now, which is crazy. Don't spend $60 on this one. 25 maybe. Even then, I would wait for like, if it was $20. I haven't checked the Ganzo scene in a while though, so I don't know what they're running now. Now I will add, I can't just full on endorse any Ganzo products and say they're all going to be good, because I got this one, the F746. And this is grimy because I just use this for like garbage work when I need something at my desk. I don't like I don't care about ruining this because I hate it. Now on this, the liner lock is very, very heavy. They have a massive spring in there on this liner lock, hard to pull down. And the I don't know if you can see this, but the thumb stud is so close to the handle. If you want to compare with this, if I show this from the back, or from the front maybe, the thumb stud is really sticking out. And if you look on the side, there's room for your thumb to get in on this one. Your thumb can get in there and open it. I don't know if I'm really illustrating what I'm trying to say. You can't get in here. The way this is designed, there's no room for your thumb to get in here and open this. You really have to force it really hard. And just doing that, I don't know if you can see that on my thumb. Trying to open this when I first got it, I actually wore a hole in my thumb trying to open this. Now, do you know what I use this for? I use this as a paperweight. I hate this one. The G746. Not a fan of the G746. But I do like the 759 and the 753. So those are really my recommendations out of everything I've shown you. And maybe an Opinel. Okay, everyone should have an Opinel. These aren't too expensive either. But as far as something utilitarian, and this is honestly not ugly. This isn't an ugly knife. Something that is utilitarian, easy to use, not ugly. The 753 is really my recommendation. I can't recommend them enough. I carry it every day. I've carried it for 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. And I think that's all of my pocket knives. I kind of scoured around looking for any that might be here and there. But that's all the pocket knives I have. So let me know. I have a lot of machetes I could show you. I have a lot of fixed blade knives I could show you. Both big and large. Both big and small. So let me know if you want to see those. And that's the end of the video. I don't know how to end videos, dude.